Now get sick with it and just no, that's just sick. That's not human, that's fantastic. Moving like magic, that's just sick. Just watch how they playing, saying, no, that's just sick.
All right, so Metta, we know that you're a huge advocate for mental health, and we want to dedicate this episode to mental health awareness. So because of COVID, what resources do you feel that people should take advantage of during COVID to maintain a sound mind?
Well, COVID was just a really awful situation and challenging mentally, emotionally. So I think taking advantage of self-time is cool. Taking advantage of being outside with not a lot of people around, which is unfortunate because you want people around. You don't want to see, Earth without people, which is like kind of weird. But you do want to take advantage of the time, where you could get out and explore nature and different things like that. So I think that's really cool. Explore some quiet time or just have some quiet time. So I think it's something that you can take away from not really having restaurants being open, clubs being open, and working every day. We're humans, so when we started, we didn't have anything. We didn't have clubs or restaurants or anything.
Yeah, it's like learning how to be by yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
And another question. In regards to the MBA and all the mental difficulties, how did therapy help prepare you for it? Because we saw in an interview that you've been going since you were.
I think just well, the NBA is like a real unique situation. It's a high pace, fast pace, right? So I think it's definitely a fun game. There's so much emotion involved. You play one night, play the next night, you win, you lose, win by 30, lose, get traded. You get emotionally attached to the organization. You get emotionally attached to the team, to the fans. You get traded, or fans boo. So many different things come, kind of come into play when you're talking about, mental health in the NBA, or frustration or stress or anything like that when it comes to pro sports.
Did it help though, like having like that soundboard of like a therapist and stuff? Because I know personally it's helped me a lot going to therapy. Like I didn't start till my 20s. So if I had started going to therapy a lot younger, I feel personally that I would have been better prepared for certain things. So do you feel that it helped you like having that or no? Like
Yeah, I think having that as I would say a safety net support system, having the ability to recognize if you need therapy and different things like that. And then also just taking advantage of it. There's a lot of people out there going to school for social working or becoming a social worker. I forget the other majors, but there are a lot of people going to school for these different types of majors.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to take advantage of it. I think it's a good tool to have. And then you also learn things along the way, because sometimes it can be very expensive, to go to get therapy. After therapy, it's $100 an hour, $150 an hour. People don't even have $20 an hour. So how are you going to pay $150 an hour? So sometimes you can just maybe take a couple classes or a couple sessions and then try to learn something from it. It's definitely worth the investment in yourself. People buy Jordans or something and don't have no money to eat. It's probably, but getting in trouble and different things. So it's much better you invest in your well-being versus investing in something material, that's not going to really last.
Agreed.
Definitely agree with that. Considering how competitive basketball is and how it can be a head game, who is your toughest player to play against?
The toughest player to play against, I would say, that's a tough one. Off the top of my head, I would say, Kobe comes to mind and LeBron comes to mind, but the reason Kobe comes to mind first is because I always feel like it was tougher to guard him. and LeBron was just as tough. But I always felt like with Kobe, his intelligence on the court and his ability to make shots was just amazing. LeBron's becoming that. You know, over the last couple of years, LeBron is becoming what like Kobe was.
Yeah.
So I got LeBron. LeBron's 5 years younger than me. So I was catching him when he was evolving as a player. His first game was very successful against me. And I think his career averages are very successful against me. They probably look really good. I think it's at about 25, I think, for his career. It might be 30. I don't think it's 30. I don't think it's that much. but and then with Kobe, Kobe might be at 25, you know, also. I don't know. It's hard to say. But
those are two amazing players. You know what I mean? Like they
yeah,
both
really,
so
really,
much
really.
to the game, you know, in their own unique way.
Absolutely, man. Really, really, really good players. I mean, and those two stick out. Obviously, there's a lot of other great players in the NBA, but I don't think people had that many good games against me.
So we're gonna say LeBron and Kobe are even when it comes to being the toughest player. We'll go with that. Okay.
I think they're about
So-
even. I think they're probably about even.
Okay, awesome. So other than winning a championship with the Lakers alongside Kobe Bryant, what other elements in your career do you feel like you've accomplished more than just winning a championship?
Well, I think being married, children, going back to school, staying grounded, still, I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to also just like have a connection to my neighborhood that I grew up in. Like, not just like, I mean, you want to give back, but it's actually a little bit ignorant because I still have that ignorant connection with my neighborhood. And I mean that in a very sincere way. Like, meaning how I grew up in my neighborhood, when I made it to the NBA, nothing's really changed. Now, from a professional standpoint, I didn't do myself any favors. But when you talk about, you know, staying true to your neighborhood, that's a badge. You know, you can't really you can't duplicate that. It's hard. You can't become that. You have to be that. And I'm just really proud of that also in my career because NBA is crazy. And then what else? That's pretty much it. Most of the stuff is like personal stuff that I'm really proud of, you know, that I've done, you know, outside of basketball.
Where'd you grow up, by the way? Because you keep talking about your neighborhood. So I was.
Yeah, Queens, New York City. Grew up playing basketball, Queens, New York City. I played with Shamgar Wells. He's coach of Dallas Mavericks. I played with in New York. I played with Stephon Marbury when I was younger. I mean, just New York City, just like really, 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 really amazing.
Through mental awareness, do you feel that you've helped create a safe space for athletes and even more specifically basketball players to be vocal about, you know, needing help or seeking help with all the stress that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I came out when I was 2010. I said I want to think of my psychiatrist, and I believe that led to a couple of athletes just thinking about it. Some people say you're crazy, but then when you think about it, how many athletes is in my situation?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many athletes was made it professionally and would lash out? Lots of us, so many of us. You know, it's just that we're human. You know, so many regular people lash out and have issues, but there's only a select few that can make it pro. So you're in a small group of people that are professional, American professional players, and also depressed or have anxiety, right? Something like that. And it's very normal. Like it's very normal. And that's what sometimes what we were faced with was when you are depressed and you might say I'm on television, I get fouled on the court and I might just get mad, get ejected. Like I look like I'm out of control. And then if you didn't address that issue, like what's really the problem, you might get ejected multiple games, and you just look like tall black dude that's just like kind of crazy from the hood, and that's normal, is expected. But you might, who knows what you're going through,
Exactly.
right? You could have just got divorced. You could have just lost your girl. You could have, you could have had somebody could be sick in your family. You could have lost your parents, like that type of stuff. And then coming into the league, when you come from the hood, people are already saying, all right, he's from this place, so we know that he might mess up. He might be a dumb jock. It's like so many different labels that you have. Somebody like myself, when I came into the league, and when I came into the professional world, I pretty much came in on some Tupac, like F the world type thing. Mainly because things I experienced, things I've seen. And when you're from New York City, our communities in New York City, it's a deep learning that they don't teach in school, that they teach in the communities in New York City. A lot of stuff go back to history, and you got a lot of separated religions in New York City. Some people believe that the woman is God. Some people believe that the body's God. Some people believe in the moons and the stars. This is all real stuff that's been going on for years in New York City. So you have the Hebrew Israelites, you have 5%ers, you have all these different faiths and beliefs, but a lot of knowledge. So coming from New York City, it's a higher learning, it's a street knowledge that you have, and when you experience things in the streets, it stays with you sometimes, depends on who you are. I've seen some people that let things go. I was one of those people that couldn't let it go. So I always wanted to bring light, like, yo, I'm in the league, but I'm from the hood. And I don't know if y'all know what that means, but there's a jungle in there. You know what I'm saying? There's a jungle in there. And that's why I always would show people and just say it, I'm from the hood, I'm from the hood, I'm from the hood. When I was younger, it was more ignorant. It was just ratchet. And I love ratchet. I really do love ratchet.
So like you need a balance between ratchet and professional.
Well, I don't think you need it. I love ratchet because ratchet is, it's almost a language. Like we know where you're from. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think
we know where you're from? So it is what it is. And how I grew up, it wasn't professionally. I didn't want to be professional. I wanted my people to get out the struggle. That's all I care about. Would I rather be professional, or would I rather my people not have to sell crack to their moms? You know what I'm saying?
And that's a difficult upbringing. And I think I really loved struggle. What is it? Struggle builds character. I definitely love that. And that's something we can all relate to. You know what I mean? So where do you feel like you find your peace in all of it? Or do you feel like that's an ongoing journey to finding peace?
Finding peace. I find peace, and I find peace and love when people are happy, because me generally, I got a different attitude. Like me, I got an attitude that I don't want people to have. I have a chip on my shoulder that I had since I was a kid, that I realized I have it. So I know I have it, which is great that I know. But I'm used to not trusting people and not liking people. When you don't know what shot coming next, you just you don't trust people, right? So, but I also love people. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. Change my name to World Peace. Like, even though I'm from the streets and I'm as ghetto as it comes, but I still have an appreciation for peace. It's just it's amazing when you can just let's enjoy it and go to the beach. Going to the beach in the sand, just chilling out. Walking in the forest, just chilling out. In Mother Nature, just good Lord, it's so beautiful, right? But you don't experience that all the time. You go to California, Los Angeles right now, you go to Compton. Some people never been to the beach. And some people never been to Joshua Tree. You go to Joshua Tree, there's no light pollution. You're gonna see the stars, it's beautiful, it's insane. some people from the hoods never seen stars,
Mhm.
right? Like just lighting up the sky. It's like that type of stuff that's just beautiful, that nature brings me like a lot of joy. Um, Couples staying together brings me a lot of joy. You see so many days now, so many relationships now. Everybody break up. I was in a long marriage. I got divorced. Like families breaking up. Like when you see a family make it, that's amazing.
I
It's
don't know.
hard. It's hard. It's really difficult. At times.
I have a
Like a lot.
follow. I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm trying to let you finish. I don't want to
You
lose
said
my.
what?
I'm trying to let you finish, but I don't want to lose my thought. And I'm not sure which.
Oh no, yeah, go. No, you can cut me off anytime. I start to ramble.
But I really have this follow-up question. So, being that you have children and you like go to therapy, and you mentioned like um somewhat toning down the ratchet and stuff like that. So I know personally, like my mother, is from the hood. And so I feel like maybe if she had gone to therapy earlier, she would have not passed some things down, like some anger down. Do you feel that you going to therapy is helping also like create a better generation? Like, do you feel like that's helping you be a better father and more
Yeah,
understanding and stuff like that?
I think it's a hell of a tool to pass down to your children. I mean, you can say, hey, if you have any issues, you can talk to me, or you can go see a therapist. That's a hell of a tool. I love when my kids come to me and say, hey, I'm going to go see therapy. I'm like, okay, no worry, I love that. That's beautiful, because in our neighborhoods it wasn't that. It was like when you're upset, you walk outside mad. You walk outside mad, and then you go see your friends, maybe play some basketball, and you feel good. But if you're not really letting it out, and you just feel mad, you're just walking down literally like this. All I've seen people walking for years with an ice grill. The gang, they call it, people might call it thug. Some people, it's so funny. I walk in the league, they just call everybody thugs. Call the black people thugs.
Why do you feel like it's such a taboo for, certain communities to reach out and get help?
I think it's a taboo. Maybe it's not taboo as much as it is having a reference point, somebody you've seen do therapy. When I went to therapy, I was 13 years old in the hood. And I remember the first time I went to therapy in my hood, I remember that I didn't want nobody to see I was walking in the building. I didn't want because our hood is the biggest federal housing project in America. So it's big. A lot of people know each other. And, certain places you go, people know where you're going. So a lot of people know where you go. It's not like a little neighborhood where somebody might have heard a joke and when 10 people heard the joke, 1,000 people heard the joke in our neighborhood. 1,000 people know you going to, see therapists. And at a young age, people, oh, you crazy, man. Back in the days in 1993, they call you retarded. All this was normal, right? All this stuff was normal. You crazy, you could laugh at you crazy, right? Kids hold that in. They hold it in. And I've seen people do wild stuff by holding it in and exploding at one moment and not coming home. They're in jail right now. So many of my best friends in jail. So many of my best friends is in jail just by that split second decision. They couldn't like breathe. Okay, I'm not gonna shoot him. I ain't gonna kill him. Some people are like, nah, I'm gonna kill him. Pop.
Yep.
And then like, oh man, he in jail. Oh my goodness, for life. Oh. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's
the difference of your life if you are just able to learn basic skills of being able to control your emotions, because that's super important.
Super important. It's super important to me. I always had that I don't give a F attitude. So that's a major problem. I go to jail for a long time. My brother went in jail for 10 years for drug trafficking. Right when I went to college, 10 years flat, fed time.
Wow.
My cousin, we just playing basketball. 2 weeks after that, he in jail for murder. Life, still there right now.
Yeah, I think also just like a lot of people who don't go to therapy don't understand. It's like you learn these tools, you learn the tools, but it takes time to apply them. And it's like your therapist is like, like your coach in a way. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's like when you talk about like that split second decision, I'm like, it's very relatable because not even as far as like being shot, but it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I want to like go follow or something. Like you have to like catch yourself and you have to like recognize your anger, and then you learn to recognize your anger instead of
Yeah.
lashing out, which is like not a tool I had prior. Like you have to learn like, oh, I'm
Yes.
angry. Hold up, don't let it get here.
Yeah.
So
You crush
yeah, it's
yourself.
really hard. Yeah.
I remember when I first was going through my first depression, I had my first, what do you call it? Nervous breakdown. I was 21. I was on my way to the game I was playing for the Bulls. I was 20. I broke down. I remember broke down on the side. I was just so stressed that I just stopped, pulled over, started crying. Right. And it was like I need something to, to hold on to. I'm feeling stressed. It's like, well, what do you do? And then, when you were talking, when you were saying like, you know, uh, how do you find that time to, just take a quick breath and think about what you're gonna do. Why are you mad? It's not easy. It's not. I know a lot of people out there doing it, going through it right now, and I've been through it already. So I kind of understand. Even when I have anxiety to this day, I know it's gonna pass. I know it's gonna pass. So I don't like having it, but I'm like, okay, it'll pass.
It's kind of like getting to know yourself, how you process things, and having the understanding of when to decompress, because that's when things start making sense when you actually take the time, to be able to think rationally. It makes a huge difference, and I think
Yeah.
that's something we can all relate to and we can all actually seek out.
Yeah, it's super
Yeah,
important.
I agree. So, somebody told me a long time ago, just take 5. Whether it's 5 seconds, 5 minutes. Somebody even told me 5 days. They told me take 5 days before you make a decision. Because I was like, wow, boy. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've all done something. And then afterwards, we're like, man, if I would have just waited just a little bit longer, maybe
Yeah.
the reaction would have been a little different. You know what I mean?
It's so crazy. Like I realized I've been thinking about so many different things now. So like you're seeing couples get in arguments,
Mm-hmm.
or you got in an argument with your friend, whatever. You could have that day you probably didn't eat. It could be something simple as that. Like people breaking up because they didn't eat that morning. They were upset. Like it's over. I don't want to be with you no more because I'm hungry. Like
So do you
simple.
feel like a piece to kind of staying together in relationships, do you feel like kind of taking time to yourself definitely makes a difference in keeping a relationship together?
Um, I think you do need time for yourself. I'm the opposite. I like to be around all the time, but I do know that you do need space. So my partner and my wife, we give each other space sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Not that we want to or I want to, but I think it's important. But that's hard, like especially human nature. People are jealous. Human nature. It's just human. I don't care, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. Right. But not everyone is like that. Everybody's so different, right? So you got to. What I think is more for me. What's more important is that I recognize who I am as a human, and recognize the stuff that I've been through. Because if you experience things that wasn't trustworthy, or you experience, neglect, like that affects the relationship, and that turns you to who you are. And when you got 2 people like that, it's really bad. That's why people be fighting. Like you get the woman and the guy, same person, and then they just clash and just like argue. They're not bad people. They're just the same person. And you need to identify these things before, you get into a relationship. I didn't know that. I was 16 when I met my first wife, and we had a baby, and we was together for 17 years. But we were like very identical, so it was really hard. And then adversity. How do you deal with adversity? How do you deal when something happens in a relationship, especially professional athlete? What do you do? Do you just say, I'm giving up. You know, and that's the type of stuff you want to teach the kids. You know, you want to teach them, you know, those type of tools. That's a very important lesson. That's more important than education. You know, really is keeping the family together is really important.
I appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.